A woman can want a man to take care of her and still make it completely impossible for him to do it. Now, she's not doing it on purpose. Most of the time, she doesn't even know it's happening. Her nervous system is physically blocking the very thing that she's craving, and no one ever told her that that was even possible. And until that changes, there is nothing he can do. He cannot love her the way that she needs because she cannot let him. I'm Adam Lane Smith, the attachment specialist. I have 16 years of training and experience working with couples, and I will tell you this: a woman pulling back from love and care, being unable to receive it from a willing partner, is more predominant than you think. For this conversation, I'm bringing in one of my senior certified attachment coaches, Alyssa Mullen. She works specifically with women who have a good man in front of them and still cannot open up to him. Women who work with her finally stop pushing away the very love that they have always wanted, and they stop hiding their happiness from the men who've earned it. And best of all, their relationships change because they change. Alyssa, welcome. Let's say that a man is doing everything right. Let's say he's showing up, he's providing, he's putting in effort, and his woman is still unmoved. He thinks that she's the problem. What's actually happening on her end that he cannot see?
It's a great question. The first thing I would say is number one, if she's consistently unmoved or distancing, that actually tells us something about her and who she is, and that she's likely avoidant. And so, if an anxious woman were in this situation, it would actually look a little bit different. She'd be more expressive, there'd be more nonverbals, she'd be actually showing more affect, you'd see more muscle movement on her face. So, the fact that this woman is distancing tells us something about her. But even then, when a man says, I'm doing all the right things, what I'm actually hearing is it's not actually just about her. There's also something going on with him too, and how he's showing up and how he's bringing some of these provisions to her, how he's doing some of these things. So while he may be doing the correct behaviors, what we want to look at, even though it's correct on paper, we want to look at, is he doing them from an anxiously attached place? And is there a target he's trying to hit that he can't really see? Or is he trying to make her settle, make her soften, make her respond or produce some feeling so that he feels good? Avoidant women, especially, are highly sensitive to nervous system states more than other anxious, insecure attached women. And so, something I actually find is that these women are quite receptive to securely attached masculinity and approaches from the securely attached masculine position. And I find with my avoidant women, and if they're just ethical avoidant women, what I find is that when they're in the presence of a true securely attached man, they're actually able to settle quite beautifully with him when he's steady, grounded, and not pursuing from a place where he's trying to extract a reaction or a feeling out of her, which is fascinating. So, what they can't receive is a type of provision that has a desperation or a need or an urgency to it. So it's the urgency and the desperation that actually set her off. So when a man is coming from a position of, I really hope this works. I really hope she loves me. Like, please, I hope she chooses me or she feels that feeling and then I'll know I'm rewarded and I got the reward. When he's coming from that place, avoidant women actually feel a pressure. They don't feel safe, they feel pressure. And on her side, what's actually happening is that not that she doesn't feel anything at all, she's actually feeling a ton. But avoidant women are quite good at containing and masking unless the man is already aware that she's doing that. But a lot of men are not fully aware of her nonverbals and not fully aware of what these mean. They don't even recognize that she's feeling too vulnerable or flooded and that her avoidance and her stoicism or her rigidity, they aren't always aware that it's a direct response to their behavior. So they go quiet, they distance, they act unaffected, and men think, well, I should just do more. And then she's panicking even more and just retreating further and further in the depths of her soul. And a lot of men don't realize that this is what they're doing. So while he's doing this, as I mentioned, he's not number one catching her nonverbals. He's not noticing the freeze. He's not noticing she's withdrawing. Or if he is, he thinks that means continue advancing because you haven't hit the target. So that means pursue more. But for ethical avoidant women, that deep attention is actually highly threatening. It is too vulnerable for avoidant women. They read it as exposure. Not necessarily that they will be harmed, but it's read as a type of exposure. So she distances not because she doesn't want him, but because the closeness is starting to feel too fast, too urgent, and too much for the structure of her nervous system.
And I love this. This is one of the most important distinctions in our attachment work when we work with men and women. A man can be doing every external thing correctly. He's hitting the checklist that he knows, right? And that's part of the problem,
Mhm.
and still be operating from an insecure nervous system in him, which is not actually doing everything correctly. He just thinks it is. He's
Yeah.
checking the list. Then her threat detection reads that immediately. He's not looking at her behavior and she's not looking at his. They're looking at this checklist instead. She sees what's happening to his nervous system state. It's not, is he doing the things? It's, how is he doing them? And if his provision is coming from a place of needing her to receive it, I'm doing this for the approval you're going to give me, that does register as pressure, not safety for her. Now, I want to talk about this next point. What happens to a man over time if he keeps providing and never gets to see that she's receiving it? She is never happy.
This is an interesting one because something I've seen in my work with men is that they're obviously very different from women, but they find a type of safety in productivity, a safety in being on target, a safety in momentum, a safety in achieving goals and being on track with things. And so, this is one of the most important things for my female clients to understand about the male nervous system. So, what that means is his work, his fitness, building, solving, protecting, providing, hitting targets, solving problems, being on track with things is how he actually feels safe, including in the relationship. Men feel more grounded when they can actually move towards something and know that they're actually effective and they can be successful. It's a part of how they feel emotionally safe and valuable as a person. So, when a man is trying to provide for a woman and do the right things, show up well, and he never gets to see her happiness, his brain actually starts to learn something very painful about that experience, which is that this is not a place where I can be successful. And what's fascinating is in the nervous system is actually driven by a couple things. One of them is perception of a challenge or a threat. And if your brain perceives that this is not a challenge that I can overcome or a challenge that I can do anything about, then I won't do anything at all. It's actually a type of the freeze response. It's from the dorsal vagal nervous system, but the brain has learned that there's no action here. I can't take action here. All I can do is either close down or move away from the problem. Essentially, the brain decides I'm not going to spend energy here if I'm not going to be able to be successful and accomplish this task. So they enter into a conservation state, withdrawal, less energy, and less pursuit. So it's not always a conscious decision where he's deciding I no longer care. Sometimes it can be that way in certain couples, and you'll actually hear that from I'll hear that from my male clients sometimes, like, "I just can't make her happy," or, "It's just not worth doing anything here," and that's actually the brain making this calculation. So it's literally the brain telling us the function of men, which is really fascinating. So what he will do is go where his effort is successful, go where he can hit targets, go somewhere where his value is clear, go somewhere where the scoreboard is actually clear to him and he can see how he can actually climb the scoreboard, climb the ladder, or get more points on the scoreboard. Over time, what you'll see is he starts investing less in the relationship in the places where his effort can least reliably create an outcome. He'll just stop. He'll just remove energy, stop putting it there. She'll experience him pulling away. She might see him focusing on other things in his life because he's literally going where he can be successful. And my women often have a hard time. They just don't know this until they find out, and it is so mind opening for all of my women to realize this about men and to realize that it's not personal. It's actually neurochemistry, and it's a response that he's having based upon how he is meant to operate. So what happened first is that his nervous system gave up on a problem and it concluded that it could not solve it. So he moved away.
It's the same mechanism as male depression, actually, is what that is. He's
Yeah.
depressed in the marriage, but he's winning everywhere else.
Yeah. So a woman can want to make a man take care of her and still make it completely impossible for him to do so. It's not that she doesn't want connection, it's that her nervous system is physiologically closed to receiving it and she has no clue. She's waiting for him to do the right thing, and technically, he is doing the right thing, and the signal is not landing because
Right.
the door, which is her body, needs to open in order to receive it.
Ultimately, what's happening here is that her system says, if you care about me, that comes with strings attached. If you're giving me love and taking care of me and making me feel safe, you must want something. And because you're not being honest on the surface about what that is, you're checking boxes. When the bill comes due, it's $10,000. I can't pay that bill. What are you going to demand from me? You're not being honest. And it erodes her sense of safety. This comes from her imprinted family model because that's probably what her dad or her mom raised her with. Now, she's blocking him from doing the right thing. I hear the same thing with my ethically avoidant men. I want to feel at home with her. Adam, on paper, she's perfect. But when we're together, I've never felt at home. Well, yes, that's because you're blocking the nervous system state and the receptors that would actually let you feel at home. That's the problem. Same thing for ethically avoidant women. You will never feel the way you want to feel with him until you change the way you feel on the inside first to allow you to receive that. These are two people passing that will never actually meet because they're not actually connecting as people. They're just trying to do things. We have to really focus on how tragic that is of man wanting overwhelmingly to give love to a woman and woman absolutely terrified to receive that love because it's not packaged correctly. That's the issue.
So she's waiting for him to do the right thing. And he is doing the right thing. And the signal is not landing because the door, her body, needs to open in order to receive. And it's not open. That is a nervous system state. And until that changes, nothing he does will get through to her.
Correct. We have to make the change happen. So, for everybody out there watching right now, if you're hearing yourself in what Alyssa's describing so far, if there's a man in your life who is showing up, who is doing the right things, and you still cannot open up to him, that is your attachment algorithm doing actually what it was built to do. And it's been doing it your whole life. And I want you to understand what's actually at stake here. I have sat across from women who did this work in time and saved everything. And I've sat across from women who waited, and by the time they were ready, that good man was already gone and married to somebody else. So go to the link below and fill out a short coaching application if you're ready to get this started now. My team will reach out within a day. We'll walk you through what we can offer and we'll make sure it's the right fit. Now, if any part of what you just heard resonated, it's worth at least a conversation. Now, Alyssa, what's incredible about you is yes, you have a great academic mind and you understand this better than almost anybody else does, right? And you have also lived this. You've lived the experience of an avoidant woman. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I'd be happy to. I want to start this section because this was not just theory for me. As Adam mentioned, I was actually one of these women. I know what it's like to want connection and want true masculine, healthy presence and to want to be cared for and to notice that when it actually arrives in front of you, your body does something very strange. You actually don't soften, you don't lighten up, you don't let it land. You stay composed, contained, and actually in a productive state, in more of a testosterone based state. And for a long time, I didn't realize that what I was calling my strength or self control was, in many moments, actually a closed receiving state or a closed femininity state. So even when I thought I was feminine, my system was still in a productivity state, performing and controlling itself. Women generally find safety in connection, but avoidant women often learn to find safety in productivity, in being functional, in handling things, solving problems, and staying in the sympathetic state, a testosterone based state, specifically around men. And this is where control lives for avoidant women, and it's also where predictability lives. Oxytocin phobia is what happens when the bonded, open, receptive state starts to feel threatening rather than actually pleasurable, especially when she's in a vulnerable position with a man, because displaying happiness is quite intimate for an avoidant woman, especially in a purely productive state. So, letting him see that something landed is actually quite intimate. Letting him see the oxytocin, letting him see the vulnerability, your expression, your heart is actually quite vulnerable and intimate for avoidant women. And letting him feel that he affected you in that way feels threatening. So, avoidant women crave bonding. She craves closeness. She deeply desires oxytocin, but her nervous system has linked vulnerability and openness with threat. So when the moment actually comes, especially with a healthy man, she closes instead. And what this signals to him is she doesn't like this. She must not like me. I must not matter. And what's actually happening is that she dropped back into the productive state. She dropped back into the productive state. And that's where she learns she's safe. The very thing she wants the most is the very thing that her body has trouble letting her access.
I see this a lot with my clients, and it's devastating. The oxytocin phobia of the moment I get close, my body reacts with panic and I have to run screaming from it. And then the rejection that that man feels, that's the tragic part here. It confirms exactly what any insecurely attached man actually believes. I'm not enough. I can't provide what she needs. She doesn't want me. All the internet advice in the world and all the personal advice from grandpa and uncles and anybody he's ever talked to says if a woman loves you, she'll soften, she'll not an avoidant woman. Completely opposite. So all the wisdom he's ever heard tells him she doesn't want you. And at this point, yes, he stops trying. She reads that withdrawal as he starts to shut down as confirmation that she can't be loved either, that he never really loved her and that he didn't get what he wanted. So now he's abandoning her. Then that loop closes. Both of them are doing exactly what their nervous systems told them to do. And it's destroying something that could have been beautiful. Alyssa, a lot of women are listening right now and saying, "This is me, right? I pull away from closeness. I
Mhm.
overanalyze. I've destroyed great relationships with good men, again, that were great on paper." I keep hearing, right? The
Mhm.
on paper part for avoidant people. They track everybody on paper. I've learned, and it's what they have. It's the only
Yeah.
metric they have because they can't feel if
Yeah.
things feel right or not. So it's got to be the checklist. What is it that's happening in an avoidant woman's body when she can't receive that love and safety from a man? What is her body doing?
Well, physiologically, she's actually in a sympathetic nervous system state. And I mentioned earlier that it's a productivity state for avoidant women. She's more in a problem based state, threat detection. Often what she experiences is anxiety. Her heart rate is increasing. Her eyes may be kind of darty. Her face actually will tighten and look sharper and edgier. I don't know if that's something you've ever noticed, but women
Oh,
actually
yes.
start to look kind of more masculine when they're in this state, which is fascinating. And she feels the urge to perform and manage people, manage herself, even over explain, which often is associated with anxious attachment, but it's a sympathetic nervous system behavior to do that. So she may be controlling or wanting to stay busy rather than just simply receive the connection and receive the sensory data of the moment. If the activation gets too intense, she can actually move in from the sympathetic up into what is called dorsal vagal, the freeze response, and it's a shutdown state. The brain has decided I can't do anything about this threat or this challenge, so we're shutting down, conserving energy, going offline, and we're not going to be mobile in any way. So she may look numb, she may feel far away or feel disconnected or even seem dissociated because she is. So some avoidant women experience this very strongly, especially in sexual intimacy, which is fascinating. You can actually see them freeze and go into their heads or lose contact with sensation altogether because that sensation is quite intense and it makes them dissociate. And something else I see with a lot of my avoidant women is they can experience deep shame when they're in this state sexually as well. Deep shame and shutdown. And they often travel together, those two feelings. What the body typically needs at this point is actually a what we could consider a grounding input, but in particular, this is called proprioceptive input, which is deep pressure on the body. It's weight pressure on the body. Proprioceptive input is one of the most important types of sensory data for your nervous system to feel oriented to time and space, to the sensory data of the moment to feel connected to the moment. So, this is actually what I recommend for a lot of my female clients who have this experience. And I even recommend that her husband or her partner implement proprioceptive input on her body, or she requests it. Some men don't know that women need this, or that if a woman's going into her head, that she actually might need some proprioceptive input. So she can also do this to herself. Women can put proprioceptive pressure on their body. It's genuine. It's actually it's just sincere pressure. Sincere maybe is a weird word to use, but it's just pressure on the body. It's deep pressure on the body to help the system come back down into the ventral vagal state. You can do it as a co-regulation exercise or as self-regulation, and it brings you back to ventral vagal, which is where women can actually receive, feel oxytocin, and be in the connection estrogen-based state where she's present, feeling the sensation, feeling openness, feeling connection.
Really quick. So this is why women ask for hugs and then say, "Squeeze me harder." This is also, right, the weighted blankets. This is the deep feeling of a sensation of I need to be physically contained so I can also be emotionally contained. Is that fair?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I would say especially avoidant women need that, but also just humans in general. This is a thing that nervous systems need in general. So it's sort of an intuitive impulse that we have to get it. So one of the most important things that begin to change is when an avoidant woman can actually start learning to verbalize her dysregulation. For a lot of my women, this is very hard and it takes courage and also understanding how to do it in a way that she feels safe to do it. But verbalizing dysregulation and what's happening in the body is not a small step for an avoidant woman. It is a massive shift towards what I call interactive regulation, which is actually a type of co regulation. I'm regulating me and you at the same time by naming and verbalizing the dysregulation. So she could say, I'm feeling anxious, or I'm starting to shut down, or I'm noticing that I'm going in my head. Can I have this? Or I'm starting to feel overwhelmed. Can we slow down? Can we stop? Can we take a break? So being able to name that and verbalize that is what starts creating a bridge back to connection again.
Absolutely. And this is exactly what the polyvagal science shows us. When her sympathetic nervous system's activated that hard, her body is not in a position to receive. It can't. It's oriented toward threats instead. So every system is pointed away from connection. Cortisol is the hormone that really drives that. When that cortisol is elevated out of control, it doesn't just create stress for her, it actively blocks the bonding response. The oxytocin can't bind to the receptor sites because they're shut down. So even when he's doing everything right, that signal has nowhere to land. So, what attachment work does is target the algorithm underneath all of that. When she gets triggered, she's not firing an automated sympathetic response that shuts it down. She starts to have a choice. A parasympathetic response becomes available to her, and she can actually choose to let him in. So, Alyssa, what does it look like when a woman is actually receiving well, not just performing, but actually receiving the real thing?
So, when a woman's actually receiving well, she's in the ventral vagal nervous system state. Her brain has decided it's safe to be present, it's safe to be in the connection. There are no threats, or there's not too many threats if there are any. But she's in the ventral vagal state. So, it doesn't necessarily mean she looks perfectly calm or passive or perfectly feminine or perfectly playful, perfectly happy. It just means she's present, connected to herself, the moment, to him, to the sensory data of the moment as well, to nature, the sounds. She's just with everything. And her body is naturally producing bonding chemicals, bonding hormones, because her nervous system has registered safety. It's decided that this is a safe moment to do so. And you'll often notice that she's actually listening more. She's not jumping in constantly and bombarding the space or bulldozing or overexpressing or even just anxious at all. She's sincerely curious. There's more openness, more room, more space. She's warmer, softer, more playful. There's a kind of freedom in her, a sort of an expression, a natural flow of her identity and her personality. She's not managing from above. She's not looking from above herself, trying to manage herself or manage him. But usually it's I'm managing me so that I can manage you, is how avoidant women work. So there's importantly, what she's doing is she's actually allowing her happiness to be visible. And she did something, if he did something that landed, she actually lets him see that, not in a performative way, but she gives him that. She gives him that signal because she feels safe to, not because she's withholding it and saying, screw you, I'm not going to give you this, but she actually feels safe to let him see that she's feeling vibrant, that she's feeling happy, that he hit the target, that he hit the target bullseye, and now she's feeling happy. And so it's not the case that women are intentionally withholding the bullseye. Sometimes, sometimes, but ethically avoidant women don't do that. They don't withhold the bullseye. It is sincerely a stress response. So another way that this will look is like she's grateful without overdoing that gratitude. She's asking sincerely curious questions. She's not communicating her needs. She's pitching ideas. She's pitching solutions in a way that's actually inspiring to men and to her man or men. She's not demanding that her needs get met. She's not threatening that her ideas are followed through on. They're sincere, creative pitches, and she's responsive, not controlling. So, what this does for him is actually quite profound. It gives him this feeling as though he can provide value to this woman. She trusts me. I can see the bullseye. The bullseye is in sight. I can actually see that there is one. I'm not just looking for the bullseye in a dusty corner somewhere. There is a bullseye. I can see it. And that feeling is what sustains a man's investment over time. And what's fascinating is secure women actually make it easy for men to be successful with them. So, with a secure woman, her ability to do this becomes his fuel. It actually keeps him moving toward her because the relationship feels like it can be successful in a place where his care can land.
I love that. That is such a good image. And most women out there have probably not felt that if they've been avoidant most of their life. They've never even felt that. And that's eye opening to even hear that that's possible. And receiving like that. It's one of the most misunderstood things in the relationship work because it's not passive. That's what's important here. It's not passive reception. It's an active nervous system state that communicates to him that his effort has value, that he's capable of making her happy, that her happiness is accessible to both of them. When that signal is missing, even in a man who's doing everything right, his investment erodes and it tells you exactly what's going wrong in the relationship. So let's do this. Tell me about a woman who genuinely wanted to let a man in but couldn't. What was the pattern that you saw and what shifted for her?
So the couple that immediately comes to mind for me was an ethical avoidant man and a loud disorganized woman that I worked with a while ago. And this woman wasn't the traditional type of loud disorganized that we often hear about. She was a more passive, feminine type of loud disorganized, which I actually call this the outcast. I think I've told you about this before, Adam. There's the outcast, loud disorganized subtype, which is often they think they're quiet disorganized, but they're not. That's a whole different tangent. But she actually genuinely craved emotional intimacy with her husband, and she had deep shame around sex with very old associations about her purity, with being good, being a good girl, being pure, being and sex just feeling like it was filthy and unsafe to be in that space with her husband. So during intimacy, she would actually experience shame spiraling. She would become rigid. She'd be stuck in her head. She became hypervigilant about how she was being seen, behaving, performing. She was outside looking in, but also very deep inside at the same time. So the intimacy was too intense for her, and she actually felt the urge to destroy it, which is a part of loud disorganized attachment. And on the other side of that was her husband was a very sweet, ethical, avoidant man, which I believe that about ethical avoidant people. They are baseline like the sweetest people when they're true ethical avoidant. And I love ethical avoidant clients. So he was a very sweet man and he found a lot of his connection through physical intimacy, which in my work, I've actually seen that that's the case for a lot of men, that they find connection once they're intimate, not because they're monsters or filthy, but because that's how they're wired and that's where they feel connected. So it's a top priority that they have that. So for this man to not be able to access that as much as he would hope to, because she was feeling unsafe in her own body, he felt stuck. He felt like he couldn't get the connection that he deeply craved and needed, and also that he couldn't make her happy, and as though he was shut out. So what this costed them wasn't for this couple, it wasn't the whole relationship. It was but what it cost them was their ability to access the depth that they both desired and craved. And what I remember changing was helping her understand what was happening in her nervous system. I taught her about the dorsal vagal state, the sympathetic nervous system, about shutdown, how shame keeps you stuck in dorsal vagal, dissociation, all kinds of things about the nervous system. But once she could recognize that the pattern of her nervous system, that this is not a random pattern, there is something very specific happening here, she was able to start becoming more regulated because she understood. And then after that, I was able to teach her how to communicate her needs in a way that her husband could understand and that also felt safe for her to do. So she was able to start giving him clear targets that he could hit. He started seeing the bullseye because she gave it to him, and she could start requesting real adjustments to collaborate with him so that she could actually start coming out of that survival state back into connection with him rather than continue disappearing into shame, which is what she had historically done. So after that, she did become much more regulated. The relationship as a whole became more regulated. And not just in sex, but across the board, they had reported that this was the closest they had ever been in their relationship because she was able to start opening up about her dysregulation and he received it well.
Love that. That is
Yeah.
fantastic. What she came in feeling was a nervous system that learned vulnerability leads to danger. And then she built a wall so effective she didn't even know it was a wall. She just thought that was a natural feeling. She herself had crafted it and had no memory of it. A couple points that I love in this. She wasn't fully just avoidant. She was disorganized style. But as we know, disorganized has so many avoidant features that everything we're talking about today maps perfectly on disorganized people. So a lot of people will be watching this. Everybody, yes, disorganized and avoidant, they're often hand in hand because it's right in there. Another piece, though, is look at the change. Look at the massive disconnect. They had 5 kids, and she wasn't able to understand
Ah.
intimacy. She was performing intimacy, but she wasn't able to feel it. Now they could actually transition. That's what's amazing. I have 5 kids. 6 is on the way, right?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
Making a lifestyle sex life change with your partner at 5 kids and having it be that good, that's the
Right?
power of attachment right there, baby.
Right?
That's what it is. That's how we grow beyond and feel good. Alyssa, I know that in our work together, and we've worked together a long time now, you talk a lot about giving him the manual, right? Give him the manual that works. Show him what works. What does that mean in practice? What does giving him the manual look like?
It's a good question. This doesn't look like throwing the manual at his face or beating him on the head with it. So it looks much more secure than that. Some women, that's how they handle this. They want to directly throw the manual at him or not give it at all. And there's actually a secure, feminine way to quote give him the manual. So it's not controlling him, it's not becoming his manager or mean or his mommy or telling him what to do. It means telling him exactly what you do want instead of telling him what you don't want. A lot of women, and I think there must be a neurochemical actually, I think there is. I think because of estrogen, this is a theory. I think because of estrogen, women are more wired to provide criticism to get their needs met because estrogen makes us very aware of dissatisfaction in our offspring to track the nuances of the relational status of everyone's feelings. And so we're quite receptive to criticism and negative feedback. So because we're receptive to it, we think that men will be. So we're like, okay, well, here's the feedback that I'm so used to absorbing. If I give this to you, maybe you'll understand. But that's not a securely attached feminine way to give the manual. That is to some degree treating him like your mother or your father. Parents should absorb your feedback in that way. But what this is instead, in a secure feminine way, is telling him exactly what you do want instead of what you don't want. And I put this into 2 different categories. One is wishes and dreams, and I've chosen 2 words for it, I haven't selected one or the other, and the other one is, sincere, important needs. So for
Mm.
the wishes category, a secure woman is actually just signaling her interest, signaling that she would like something. She gives him a little window into her happiness actually because she's in ventral vagal, so she can do this. She actually shows him what would make her happy, she signals it, and sometimes it's cute things because it's not a very, it's not a sincere important need, it's a dream or a wish, so it could sound something very sweet, like it would be, "I would love to do that with you sometime," or "I always dream of doing a date like that." It can be very sweet, just hints, dropping handkerchiefs. It's light, it's intentional, and it's a secure feminine skill, just signaling desire without demanding that it be met immediately. You drop the handkerchief or signal, and then you just see what happens. It's a part of the secure feminine way to signal your interest or desire. So, but then for the sincere needs, like I really actually need this, the approach gets a little bit more specific. And what this will look like for a secure feminine woman when she's giving him the manual is she tells him very briefly, like 1 to 2 sentences about a problem she's experiencing. If it's a sincere need, 1 to 2 sentences, very condensed about a problem she's experiencing. And then she actually pitches ideas to him. Remember, I think I mentioned earlier that secure femininity has this quality of pitching ideas. So she'll pitch solutions to him, and those are actually the clear target. She helps him understand why these would be helpful. And it's very future focused, very positive, a lot of positive reinforcement, not good boy, but it's a future focused positive way. Well, it can look that way. Once he hits the target, then he gets the good boy, but not because she's
There we go.
manipulative, because she sincerely lets him see the good boy.
There we go. I like that.
So the steps are 1 to 2 sentences of context, pitching possible solutions, future focused, and then collaborating with him to see which one works for both of them. And what this could sound like is here's what's happening, that's the context. I'm feeling disconnected from you. And here are a couple ideas that would fix that problem. We could do this or we could do this. And then asking him, do any of these feel right for you or which one would work for you? So it's those 3 steps, and that's how a secure feminine woman actually gives him the manual when it comes to very sincere, important needs. It's very different from criticism. It's not you're failing, figure it out, screw you. Just figure out how to do it. I've been telling you. I always tell you you're never getting it right. Yep. It's here's the bullseye. Here's why it matters. I want you to hit the bullseye. I love you. I care about you. I want us to hit the bullseye together. Here's the bullseye. Here's how it can happen. Here it is in the way that you can understand. Let's do it. Rather than chucking it at his face and saying, you should have hit the bullseye a long time ago. Screw you. I hate you.
If you really loved me, you would know where the bullseye is. Right. Yeah, that's not gonna work. I hear that. I hear
So
that.
men do really well with this though, and it's because his brain is meant to solve problems. It's because of testosterone. His brain is meant to scan for where he can solve problems, where he can produce the most value, and then aim there, lock in there. And if you're throwing bullseyes at his face, he's gonna obviously turn away unless he has some other attachment issues. Then he may cower and lose his identity to your emotion.
This is so perfect because the male brain sees problem, get solution, do solution. My
Mhm.
son, my oldest son is 9 years old, and he builds little model figures, and they come with explicit instructions. Do this, then do this, then do this. And he does it and he goes, and he feels so good. Then he displays it like I did it, like this massive achievement, right?
Mhm.
If women can give him the manual, she's doing something neurochemically significant. She's converting an impossible calculation into a solvable one. A man whose brain knows he can hit that bullseye will keep providing. And then he comes back because hitting the bullseye feels great. He
And he's
gets
like,
addicted to hitting the bullseye. You're like, I'm not going to say she becomes the boss secretly, but a little bit. Like she's the shadow leader at
"Oh,
this point. Like, hey,
she
buddy, that over there, that bullseye, I bet you could hit that. And he's like, yeah, I can. And she's like that's the game. Like if his brain is wired to see that winning with you is possible, he will try to win with you as often as possible. If
Mhm.
his brain has concluded he can't, yes, like you said before, perfectly, it will conserve energy and redirect energy away. So make it easy for him to hit bullseyes and show him where they are, and he'll do it. I'd love to hear from you. Give me the same moment though, right? A man does something meaningful for his woman in an avoidant, anxious, secure woman, whatever, all of those different things. What the same gesture? He does something kind for an avoidant person, an avoidant woman, something kind for an anxious woman, and something kind for a secure woman. Same gesture. What does each woman do in different structures? And what does he walk away feeling from each of those women?
Okay. So I think an easy way to differentiate between the three would be something quite simple of going on a date, taking a woman out on a date. And let's say he's a secure man, and the scenario is that he opens the car door, he opens the restaurant door, he pulls out her chair, and he even orders her meal for her. He asks what her order is, and he gives it to the server, gives it to the waiter. So these are small gestures of masculine provision, and secure masculine men do that in a very secure way. You don't feel like they're anxious or trying to make you have feelings. It's just a part of who they are. And he's actually creating the structure so that she has space to settle and be present in the feminine state. But then we bring in the women, the three women walk one at a time, three women come in. First, the avoidant woman in this scenario would actually interrupt the entire thing. She would open the door before he could get there, her car door, she would open the restaurant door, she would pull out her own chair, she would sit down and lead the ordering at the table
I
before
was gonna
he
say
could
she
even do
probably
any of
orders for him. Like he's gonna have the steak. Like she's telling him what he's gonna eat. Yeah.
it. Yep, absolutely. So she sits down, pulls out her chair. She basically just steps into the leadership role unknowingly because that productivity state is most comfortable for her. It's where she feels safe. Now, if she was more extreme avoidant, like manipulative avoidant, she might actually attack him for it and say, I've got this, I can do this. Like, I don't need you to do that for me. She'd seem probably a little disgusted. Maybe that could look a variety of ways if she's a manipulative avoidant woman. But for the man, though, this gesture just won't or the gesture from the man won't compute for her because she's in the productive state. She physiologically can't receive his gestures because she's in a testosterone based state. She's not in a connection based state. She is working towards outcomes while he's in a connection state, which is fascinating. So men and women switch at these all the time. And men that are with avoidant women are often very confused about this. He's ready for connection, and then suddenly she's not, and it's very confusing. But so the secure man with this woman would walk away from the date thinking, well, there's probably nothing I can give her. There's nothing she needs me. Nothing I do would even matter here. Might as well just move on. She's got everything figured out. And he'd probably actually be unattracted to her as well if he's a secure masculine man. He would actually be unattracted to her because she's acting like a man.
Basically, the only man I know that would be attracted to that would be a man who is running after her seeking approval because now she's a mom figure that he has to
No,
get approval of,
my
or a man
mother.
who's like, good, finally, a woman I don't have to open doors for or pull out chairs, and she could do everything herself. Now there's no
Yeah.
maintenance at all. I barely even have to acknowledge her as a human. Like those are the two men that would be attractive, and that's it. Those are not men that most women want to be around.
No, no, but avoidant women will choose the first often
Oh yeah,
because she
because she
gets to
can
be in
control.
control, it's
She
comfortable,
gets to be the boss.
and
Right,
maybe he's a
it
little
feels good for
sensitive.
5 minutes.
And he presents a little sensitive and feminine, that's kinda cute for a little bit until years down the road where she's like, "What have I done? I'm not a this man isn't a man, I'm not attracted to him, I'm his mother." And then she usually leaves that man very harshly or suddenly.
Right. Well, a Chihuahua is small and adorable for 5 minutes, and then you need a guard dog that actually watches your home, and a Chihuahua is not
Yeah.
going to be that. So,
Right. So, if we bring an anxiously attached woman into this scenario, she would respond very differently. It would be more like over processing the gestures, like overly effusive, pedestalizing him, just like, "Oh my gosh, like this is thank you so much. This is so great. Oh my gosh, this place." There'd be like a flooding to it, a type of anxiety, but like a high dopamine rush for her. And while the secure man would appreciate being appreciated, it still would feel off and like he can't really connect to her fully because it's suddenly all about her feelings. Even for a
well, and
secure man.
as a man, prior to marrying my wife, I met plenty of those anxious women. You open the door for them, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, you don't have to do that for me." It's like, okay. Then you pull out their chair, and they're like, "You don't have to do that for me." Okay. And then you order, and they're like, "You don't have to do that for me." And I'm like, okay. And it gets to be where it's just this endless
Really,
parade
but
of
I'm
low
the man.
self-esteem where you're like, "Oh, okay." And it's like, "Am I bothering you by being kind to you?" And she's like falling apart with low self-esteem at the table. It is so hard to connect to an anxiously attached woman in that way. Like the
Mhm.
avoidant woman at least is relatable because she's like, "Nah, I got this." You're like, "Okay." The
All right,
anxious
dude.
woman just is collapsing in front of you. The more kindness you give her, she like withers up and dies. It's terrible. So it is. It's very hard for a man to connect
Yeah.
unless he has a lifetime of not being appreciated, a lifetime of people
Oh,
having
yeah.
low loyalty, and a lifetime of people being overly demanding, like an avoidant man will. Then he's like, "Oh, good, finally recognition for opening a door," like that kind of feeling. Not
Yeah.
great either.
Yeah. So in this scenario, he would walk away, and that's my understanding from what you're saying too, Adam, is he would walk away feeling like maybe she's a little immature or a little unstable, hard to connect to.
It would
Mhm.
be, yeah, it's not as cute. It's a little
Yeah.
cute, I guess, at first for some guys, and then it gets less and less cute because you spend more and more time managing her feelings. And
The
then every gift
damsel.
you give her turns into like this massive problem that she has to pay back all of a sudden. You can't even
Mhm.
enjoy, and she can't enjoy the things you give her anymore because
Right.
it's this burden that you're giving to her. It's terrible.
Yeah.
What about a secure woman? What does she do in this state?
So the secure woman actually is much simpler, but not in a low value way. Simplicity in terms of energy expenditure. So she's actually taking her time. She's not rushing to open the door. She's not leading in front of him or preempting the moment. She's actually giving him space to step forward by stepping back. And she receives his gestures and she's grateful about it, but she's receiving in a regulated way with genuine gratitude and just moves on naturally. Just thank you and moves on. And that's because her value is sourced internally. So she doesn't need the gesture to become a really big moment, a meaningful moment for her. It lands and she enjoys it and the moment just keeps on moving and they're able to connect and bond and it just keeps moving. So for a man like this, he actually walks away feeling at ease, feeling comfortable, like he could be himself and like he trusts her, like she trusts him and he feels like things flowed, there was actually connection and he may actually desire to see her again if he was attracted to her.
I will say, as a man, I go on dates with my wife. We've been together 17 years. You know her. And this is us. When I go to open the door, she waits. She sits in her seat. She's just comfortable. She's cozy. She sits in her seat. I go and I open the door and she goes, "Thank you." She holds out her hand. I pull her out. I walk her in. I pull out her chair. She waits. I pull out her chair. She sits comfortably. And I say, "What do you want?" I order very calmly for her and she tells me what she wants. And it's a great experience. It's not it's not that I am better than her or she's better than me. She knows that I'm there to take care of her. This actually is part of my job, right? When I'm at home and we're doing something else, maybe that's part of her job. But in this moment, my job is to interact with the outside world so she doesn't have to. And that keeps her in her calm, contained state so that she can interact with me and share this experience. It's part of our
That's so
roles. It's
sweet.
just what we do. It's wonderful. It's fun, and I get to feel good because I'm taking care of my wife out in the world.
And you get surges of testosterone because of it.
Oh man, it's amazing. Oh, you're
Yeah,
flexing as you push in her chair. It's amazing. So yeah, it's a good feeling.
it's
She
healthy.
trusted you. Yeah, it's healthy. It's natural. She
Uh-huh.
trusted you, and you get to see her happy, and that's amazing. What he experiences in that scenario, it's not just a performance of trust either. It's the real thing. She's present. She's open. My nervous system, his nervous system in this case, it reads it directly. When she is settled, he settles. There's no problems to solve. And that's co-regulation. That's what a secure bond actually feels like. So, what does a woman actually need from a man in order to receive? Because if the
Hmm.
safety's not there, is she actually receiving anything or is she just performing openness on top of a closed up nervous system? What's the role of safety there?
Oh, that's fascinating. The performing openness on top of a closed nervous system, just I love that. That's such an interesting concept because what that tells me is that is likely an avoidant woman. Avoidant women are the ones who do this. Again, anxiously attached women are just abundant with feelings. But the avoidant women are quite closed, and so that's what that indicates to me. And what's interesting is some avoidant women have an idea about femininity. And I mean, there's so much content on femininity online, and a lot of avoidant women are engaging with it and wanting to be that way, and they just don't feel safe enough to be that way. So, if we're considering that the avoidant woman in the example knows about femininity and wants to be that way, it'll actually look like she's performing it from a productive state because productivity is where she is safe. So then she tries to put on the femininity costume and like try to make it happen and like controlling herself still though and really controlling her behaviors and and she doesn't actually know what the open receiving state feels like in her body, especially around a man. For a lot of avoidant women, they can feel it with children and other women, or if she has gay friends, as another example. So that's where a lot of avoidant women feel access to it, but not with men. That's where she actually has a hard time with it. And what she'll need from him is a degree of physical safety, and that doesn't just mean he's going to protect her from the tiger, protect her from bullies or bad actors. That's a part of it. But a part of that physical safety is in his emotion discipline and his ability to regulate himself, to keep himself steady. And then every attempt he makes from that place to provide any sort of masculine provision or emotional safety will come across as secure. But if he doesn't have that emotion discipline internally, any attempt to provide emotional safety or bonding safety will look like anxious attachment. So, that emotion discipline, his ability to regulate, is the foundation for being able to be successful in providing emotional safety or any of the other forms of safety that men provide to women. Um, so, an avoidant woman needs this. She needs to know that that man can regulate his own nervous system. And what's fascinating is if she has an anxiously attached man who signals emotional safety because that's his mating strategy, he signals emotional safety early on in the dating process. And then she finds out later on that he can't regulate himself or he's can't protect me from a tiger, she'll actually lose attraction. But even if the avoidant woman is with the loud, disorganized man, he can protect from the tiger, but not from himself. And so she will not feel safe with him. She can't be the feminine version of herself with a man like that. So an avoidant woman needs a man to be emotionally disciplined, top priority, in order for her to begin feeling emotionally safe with him. So that doesn't mean the man is vulnerable and ooey gooey mushy sharing his feelings. He's sharing in a masculine way where it's just solutions and problems. Here's something I'm going through. Here's some things I'm thinking about. Is there anything that you're seeing that I'm not seeing? He respects her wisdom. This is something Adam often teaches about, but not just how he shares, it's how he receives her feelings. So he can absorb her negative feelings, he can receive them and not feel defensive, not blow up because of it. Not attack her or not defend, not dismiss. He's actually able to absorb and stay curious and ask her more questions about her feelings as long as she set him up respectfully to do so. So he stays present. And that's one of the most important things, that the man is sincerely curious about her feelings. For an avoidant woman, that is top priority. And not anxiously attached, I need to know your feelings, but philosophically curious about her feelings. Avoidant women will just blossom like a flower if it is sincerely curious about her feelings, which is fascinating. And it's more sort of philosophical. I think one other thing I want to mention on curiosity is that when it's truly delivered from a secure place, the avoidant woman receives that as safety. Her brain can actually feel like this is a place where I won't be harmed because there is sincere curiosity. But if it comes from an anxious place, she'll feel that and move away. So she needs the consistency of this. She needs him to be emotionally disciplined as she continues opening up over time. That she sees when I open little bits over time, does he turn into a tiger? Or does he dismiss me? Especially the tiger. Does he turn into a tiger when I slowly open up a little bit about my dysregulation? Does he lash out at me? Or does he do something weird with his feelings? So if she can see that when I open, he's solid and he's curious, she'll continue opening and creating and showing more of her depth and who she is.
I love that. It's so real. Avoidant women become some of the most loyal, loving, intimate partners on the planet because they've never actually felt safety with anybody before. So when you can help them understand that and feel that for the first time, it is life changing for them.
Most women I work with have tried everything. They've tried to be more open, just be more grateful, force gratitude, force joy, force femininity, or just force presence. And they try to find themselves they still find themselves closed when he comes close to her. So your nervous system learned something a long time ago as a child about what vulnerability costs you, and it's been protecting you ever since, even when protection is the last thing you need. When we change what the nervous system believes is safe, receiving actually stops being something that you have to force. It becomes something that your body will actually let you do, and that's what this work is all about.
Everybody out there, I want you to hear this. I specifically pull Alyssa in to work with women who cannot open up to a good and loving man, or who were unable to do so in the past and want to learn so now. What we do is help them to get out from under that feeling of being trapped so they get to choose how they show up instead of defaulting to the same response every single time he tries to get close to you. These women finally stop hiding their happiness from men who've earned the right to see it because he's safe and loving. And she stops pushing away what she actually has wanted all along. Now, if this is your turn and it's your time to fix this, my coaching link application is down in the description below. Fill it out, and my team will reach out to you within a day. And here's the good news. On Tuesday, April 14th at 10 a.m. Pacific, I'm going live with Alyssa. Put your questions in the comments below. We'll be taking the best ones and answering them live. Subscribe, like, share, and join us in that live stream. Alyssa, thank you so much for being here today, and I will see you in that live stream.